Welcome to Rack of the Week 212. It's an even number. That means today is going to be about straight pool, but we're going to do something I've never done before. Went a little crazy. I'll talk to you about that in a second. First, on the screen, you can see the names of my supporters from Patreon and YouTube. Welcome to new subscriber Donald. Thank you. I am now in stock with Bridgemates. I've got a good supply on hand, so go ahead and order. Your order will ship the same day. And remember, if you love straight pool as much as I do, we got 14-1 gear. Show your love for straight pool, t-shirts, hats, mugs, all that good stuff. All right, this week we're going to talk about Darren Appleton, one of the best straight pool players ever. This is a fantastic run, and some people consider it to be one of the best tournament runs ever captured on video. Darren Appleton starts the game by the safety break shot. Francisco Bustamante pockets a difficult shot and then plays safe. Darren Appleton returns the safety. Then Francisco attempts a carom out of the pack and misses. Darren Appleton steps to the table and runs 200 and out. I've been wanting to do this type of analysis for a long time, and I don't know how to go about it. So this was a test, and I kind of did something crazy, and this took a while to put this together. But I wanted to look at each rack in a long run and compare the break shots. Were all the break shots similar? Were some of them crazy? What were the break shots like, and what were the end patterns like? Were they all good end patterns? Were some of them a little wild? I just wanted to try to compare rack to rack, and the question is, were the racks consistent? Were they handled consistently? Is that why he got through 14 racks and ran 200 balls? What can we learn by looking at them? And I've also wanted to look at cue ball travel distance. We always say the best runs, and especially the best end patterns, are the ones that have minimal cue ball travel. Well, is that what happened or not? So we're not gonna look at any shots. We're not gonna look at any video. I just want to look at the racks themselves. So on your screen right now, you're seeing the table as Darren Appleton begins his run. Francisco just missed that carom shot. The balls are wide open. So he runs 13. Then he has 14 break shots plus 5 or so balls to run 200. So we're not going to look at this one too much. I want to start at the next rack, and I put a big number 1 ball in the upper left corner. This is the first break shot. So what I've done here, look at the top of the screen. That's the break shot that Darren Appleton ended up with at the end of that first rack of 13 balls. That's not a traditional break shot, and it's not what he was trying. He was trying to play for this ball in the side pocket right here, and he didn't get position for that. He ends up shooting this ball up in the corner pocket and opens the rack. So what you're looking at is the break shot, and I overlaid the break shot on top of the result of the break shot. So the cue ball on this ball is the break shot, and then I erased the rest of the table and then put in the layout of the balls after the break shot. So you can see the cue ball hit the top of the rack, it went to the rail, and then spun down here. So here's the cue ball after the break shot. I think you get the idea. On the bottom of the screen is the end pattern at the end of this rack. And what I've done on the top of the screen, you can see that there's 5 balls that have been circled in yellow. See that? Those are these 5 balls on the bottom of the table. So what we're able to do is we're able to say, okay, here's the result of the break shot on the top, and on the bottom, we can compare and see this is the location of each ball that ended up being in his end pattern. So you can tell that this pink ball got pushed over to the side rail. By the way, on the bottom of the screen, sometimes during this tournament, they switch to a camera angle from the other end of the table. So you're seeing things kind of reversed. But most of the racks, the camera angle's from the same side. So this pink ball got pushed over to the side rails. You can see it over here. The 9 ball kind of stayed where it was. The 8 ball moved down and over to this side. And then the 15 ball pretty much stayed where it was and that ends up, I believe, being the break shot into the next rack. So what I want to do is look at the end pattern here. We're going to look at the end pattern on this one in depth, and then we'll go through all 14 other racks. But you can see the end pattern here on the bottom of the screen. The 15 ball is the break ball. And then Darren uses this pink ball to get on the 9, and then the 8 in the side, and then shoots the 2 and draws back to get on the break shot. That's pretty standard, but let's talk about why this is standard. I've mentioned in some previous Racks of the Weeks that I don't like the triangle. It's a common thing that straight pool analysts say. They say, look for that triangle. You want a triangle for your end pattern for the last 3 balls. And I don't believe in that. Yes, often a good end pattern, you'll see a triangle, but the fact that it's a triangle is meaningless. What's important is that each shot leads to the next shot with minimal cue ball movement. And you can do that without a triangle. I've made a specific video on that. But this is the end pattern that comes up a lot in straight pool. I see it on my practice sessions, my run attempts on my table here all the time. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this pattern. There's a break ball here. There's a ball that's above the break ball that's often pocketed in the side pocket. Then there's a ball to the right or between the break ball and the rail, and it's oftentimes all the way over on the rail. And then there's a ball here in the center of the table. I call that a pivot ball because center of the table, you can shoot it in either corner pocket and pivot, swing the cue ball in either direction. Okay? That's a trapezoid. That's 4 balls. But the fact that it's shaped in a trapezoid is utterly meaningless. What is meaningful is that each ball leads easily one to the next. So you'll see this end pattern happen a lot. Pivot ball into the corner, stop shot on a ball into the side pocket, then shoot the ball to the right of the break ball and either draw back the way Darren Appleton did or bounce off the rail and you're on a break shot. That's the 4-ball pattern, or it's 3 balls and then the break shot. But these are the balls that you'll see more often than not. 50% of the time in most long runs, you're going to see this pattern. There are variations on the pattern. Sometimes you don't have this pivot ball, and you end up with 2 balls at the break ball, 2 balls in the break ball, and you'll shoot this ball, bounce out, and then shoot this ball in the corner, and you're on your break shot. Or you shoot this ball first, then shoot this ball and bounce out, and you're on your break shot. Or you shoot this ball, stop shot, shoot this ball in the other side pocket. Boom, you're on your break shot. And then there's other pattern. Oh, yeah. And then the other pattern that's often common, for example, imagine this ball isn't here, and you can shoot a ball from the bottom rail or the side rail and end up on this ball in the side pocket. So rather than using your pivot ball to get this one in the side, you use a different one. So same thing though. Ball in the side pocket, this ball, bounce off the rail or draw back on your break shot. So, and then there's more. It can happen in other ways too. For example, if you have these 4 balls in this trapezoid pattern, you can start with this ball, stop shot, this ball in the other corner pocket. Now you're on the ball in the side pocket. Boom, you're on your break shot. There are more options. I'm not going to try to spell them all out, but I want you to look for this in your straight pool runs. And what I want you to look for this pattern early in the rack. It's extremely useful. And if you preserve these balls, I mentioned this in a couple of recent Racks of the Weeks, you want to preserve the useful balls. Where are the useful balls? They're above the rack. So you're going to have your break shot on either side of the rack. The useful balls are above it, often with a K3 or K4 ball that might be on the bottom rail or the side rail opposite them to get you into this trapezoid pattern to end the rack. The 15 ball is the break shot in rack number 2. So again, here's the cue ball and the break ball, and then the other balls is the result of the break shot. Here's the end pattern. This time there's 6 balls on the table, and so you see these 6 balls that are circled in yellow are the balls that ended up being the end pattern. Now I want you to notice something. His end pattern balls are all above the rack. These balls below are not part of the end pattern. So how do we run straight pool racks? Perimeter balls, trouble balls, leaving balls above the rack and the break ball. In this instance, we'll look on the bottom of the screen, the 2 ball is the break ball. So we don't have that pattern, but it's kind of similar. Here's the break ball. Here's the pivot ball in the center of the table. Here's the rail ball between the break ball and the rail. And here's the ball into the side pocket. Now, they aren't laid out as well as the previous rack. We'd like to see this side pocket ball right above our break shot, wouldn't we? But it doesn't matter. It still works. And so useful balls above the rack to get into the pattern. Pivot ball to rail ball to ball in the side pocket, you're on your break shot. This looks very different from rack number 1, but it's the same pattern. The triangle is meaningless. What is important is balls that lead naturally, one to the next, with minimal cue ball movement. That's what makes a good end pattern. Okay, let's go to the next rack. Same break shot, outside angle on the break shot. 6 balls on the table, 5 ball end pattern. All 5 of the balls comprising the end pattern above the rack, in the rack and above the rack. So removing perimeter balls, leaving those balls. The 10 ball is the break shot for the next rack. What do we have? Pivot ball, ball into the side pocket above the break ball, and a ball on the rail between the break ball and the rail. Same end pattern. It looks very different, but conceptually it's the same. And so in this instance, so notice, remember rack number 1, there was a ball on the rail here, and Darren shot that to get on the pivot ball. This time, the ball that gets into the end pattern is on the bottom rail, and you come up here, pivot ball, side pocket, rail ball, break shot. You get the idea. Not an inside angle, it's kind of parallel, but I would classify this kind of as an outside angle for this break shot. This time we have one, this one's breaking from that pattern. One of the balls that ends up being in the end pattern is below the rack here. The other ones kind of get pushed down. You see this pink ball here got pushed down into this position. Look at the end pattern on the bottom of the screen. We have the break ball and we have a ball on the rail, but there are no above the rack balls. There's no ball into the side and there's no pivot ball. So this is a different style end pattern. The key ball for the break ball can be a rail ball that you shoot and bounce out and get on your break shot. But we've got balls below the rack that we have to deal with. So in this case, one of these becomes the key ball. And it's obvious that one of these 2 balls is the best key ball. You can get this angle and just go straight up and get on your break shot. Or you can get a shallower angle and then go 2 rails out of the corner. Or you can get a low angle and go 1 rail out. That's what Darren Appleton did. Okay, rack number 5. Here's the break ball. We have a pivot ball in the center of the table, and we have a ball between the break ball and the rail. This time we don't have a ball above the break ball in the side pocket. We have a ball on the opposite rail. This, remember I mentioned in rack number 1 that when you have break ball, pivot ball, and a ball to the side, and you don't have a ball on the top, it still works as an end pattern because you just use your pivot ball to get on this ball, and then you get there. This is rack number 6. In this one, you can see on the bottom of the screen, Darren Appleton had a shooting gallery that all went into this pocket. This is the break ball, and we have a ball in the side pocket. We don't have a ball to the side, but we do have pivot balls. So it's simply getting onto these pivot balls and shooting them, and then using the ball into the side pocket. So this is a variation of the same end pattern. We have the ball on the side and a pivot ball, but we don't have a rail ball. Rack number 7, same thing. All the balls from the end pattern are in the rack area or above. You can see it on the top of the screen. On the bottom of your screen, we have a break ball. We have a pivot ball in the center of the table, and we have a ball in the side pocket. We're lacking this ball. It doesn't matter. What's interesting about this rack is how we got there. This is the pivot ball, so we want a key ball for the pivot ball. The best one is way over here. Same thing I talk about in the end patterns. How do you find key balls? You go from the pocket to the ball that you need a key ball for and continue that line. There's your key ball to set up for that shot. Same thing. Key ball for this ball is where? It could be either one of these, but we have this one. I kind of erased a little triangle out of the top to show this. But this ball here is a key ball for this one over here. This one here is a key ball for that one up in the corner. So Darren recognized the end of the end pattern is these 2 balls. This is the key ball to get into it. So So then it's this ball to get onto this one, minimal cue ball. It's almost stop shots for each of these shots, and then to the end pattern and this ball. This one is extremely unconventional. I might do a rack of the week on this one because he had an opportunity to preserve a ball like maybe this one for the break shot, and it didn't work out. And he ends up using the 14 ball as the break shot. This one, again, extremely unconventional. Rack number 8 and 9, I think, are a testament to the fortitude of Darren Appleton's excellent play, his ability to get through the rack. This is an extremely unconventional end pattern. And these balls were tied up along this rail. A lot of cue ball movement here. And his K3 ball, look at the cue ball, had to travel bottom rail, side rail to get over here to shoot the 7 in the corner and get on the 3 ball. Or no, actually, he shot the 7 in the side and the cue ball floated up here. So he had a very shallow angle on this 3 ball as a break shot. The third rack in a row of an extremely unconventional end pattern. These 2 balls remained tied up throughout the rack. And he tried, but this was his best attempt to break those balls up. He had to shoot a ball here and draw the cue ball back to be able to shoot this ball up in the corner and then draw the cue ball off this one over here for the break shot. Rack number 11, we get back to a little bit more of a conventional end pattern. Now, this is not the same as the ideal end pattern that I've been talking about. There is a break ball here with the 1 ball and then a ball above it, but we don't have a ball in the side pocket or on the rail. So this is a little bit different. And I think some people would play this differently. Some people might want to shoot the 7 and then this stripe and then come up this way. Then you use this ball as your key ball and bounce off the rail and back or draw back. I like what Darren did because this can be touchy. It can be tricky if you don't get the right angle on this stripe. Then you're going to have a difficult time getting on your break ball. So he recognized that this ball, this stripe ball, is the better key ball, and that's why he used this one to come up and make sure he got plenty of angle so that he can cut this stripe ball without running into his break shot. Rack number 12, he actually had a couple of opportunities because he's got break balls on both sides of the rack, but he chose an end pattern that's a little bit unconventional, and you can see all the yellow lines. He had a lot of cue ball travel, but we have a break ball here, a ball on the rail, and a pivot ball. And the ball on the rail is kind of far from the break shot. I don't like preserving this ball as the key ball. In other words, he could have shot this ball or the 7. He could have pocketed these balls and then played position over here to use this as the key ball. I agree with his decision not to do that. So I talked about the fact that when you have a break ball here, pivot ball, and a ball on the rail, we're lacking the ball in the side pocket, but we can still use these 2 balls. So he could have shot these 3, then use this as a pivot ball to come over and then bounce off the rail. That's one way, but he chose not to do that, and I don't mind that. But when you remove this ball, now you've got to get on a pivot ball, probably the 7. So you need to. So in that case, what I might have done is shot the 9, and then this ball, and then this ball, because then that one is the key ball to give you the correct angle on your pivot ball to get over here. It's touchy. You've got to have a very good key ball to get on that pivot ball to make that happen. And Darren Appleton didn't do that. He came and shot this ball first, and then the bounced off the rail and got positioned on the 3 to slide over and shoot this ball on the side. So I think that's a little unconventional. His last 2 balls were this 1 and the 7. From here, what I would have done shooting this in the side is drawn the cue ball this way, because then you can go 2 rails from the 7 around your break ball. And I think that's a much better pattern. Instead, Darren Appleton's key ball for the break shot, he left the cue ball here and he had to go 2 rails out of this corner, which is something you really don't want to do. It's very easy to end up short, or the cue ball can go way too long and you're back cut on your break shot. Rack 13 was an unconventional one again. I don't show this, but if you can imagine the table on the back of your screen extending out to here, there was a ball up here. And so in this end pattern, Darren shot the 11, came over here, shot this ball that was up on the head rail, and then came down here to shoot the 9 in the side. But this is an extension of the end pattern that I'm talking about, because we have a break ball, we have a ball on the rail, and we have a ball into the side pocket. What we don't have is the pivot ball to get on the ball in the side pocket. Here's rack number 14. This is the last one. Darren only needed to make, I think, 4 or 5 balls after the break shot. So there's not a lot to learn here. This was the break shot on the top of your screen. He shot it with some control so that he didn't, notice he didn't shoot it hard to splat out of the rack. And he just got to open enough balls to run these remaining ones and win the game. There's one more thing I want to look at. Take a look at this. This is this was pretty crazy. This took a while to do. What you're looking at is all 13 of the racks. What you're looking at on the screen is the cue ball movement during each of the 13 racks in the run that we just looked at. Now, this is the cue ball after it left the object ball. So this isn't the cue ball after it leaves the cue tip and goes to the object ball. This is just the cue ball's travel from the object ball to its resting point. So that's what we refer to as cue ball movement when we say we want minimal cue ball movement. So what we're able to do is just kind of look at all 13 racks at a glance, and we're looking at the distance in total. So if you add up the total distance of all the yellow lines per table, which ones did the cue ball travel more than others? So this is something I'd like you guys to look at, and do you have an insight? What can we learn anything from this, or is this just a big old waste of time? Let me know what you think in the comment section. But here's what I see. Rack number 3, rack number 8. Those are the racks that the cue ball moved the least. So if you go back and watch the video and watch Darren run those racks, why did his cue ball travel less distance in those racks than the other ones? That's not to say that the other ones were bad racks. I think his cue ball traveled as little as possible in all of them. Mine would have traveled a lot more. And we're more concerned with cue ball travel in the end pattern than we are during the beginning and the middle of the rack. But I think this is important. During rack number 3 and 8, how did the break shot end up? Did he have to shoot a lot of cluster opening shots? And if he did, how did he control the cue ball? Where were his insurance balls? This is what's important if you want to get long runs, is to be able to figure out which balls to choose when and how to open your clusters with insurance so that your cue ball travels as little as possible to get to the rack. I just wanted to put this up on the screen as food for thought. This is just step 1 in this type of analysis, and I want to improve my technique and make it more efficient so it doesn't take so long, and see what we can learn from them, if anything. So let me know what you think in the comment section. This is considered by many people to, as I said, to be one of the best runs ever recorded, tournament runs ever recorded on video. Let me know what you think of this rack of the week. This was something completely different. And if you're going to play straight pool, remember to play it straight. And I'll see you next week on Rack of the Week. Bye.